வலைத்தமிழ் சேனலை சப்ஸ்கிரைப் செய்து விட்டீர்களா? பயனுள்ள வீடியோக்களை பெற youtube.com/வலைத்தமிழை சப்ஸ்கிரைப் செய்து பக்கத்தில் உள்ள பெல் சிம்பலை கிளிக் செய்யவும்.
I just want to talk the process of incorporation of a company in Singapore. If you want to set up a company in Singapore, if you have read that what I have given you the papers, you can form a company in 30 minutes. I give you how it is formed. If a client comes to me and say, I have a company in India called Zodiac Private Limited, I like to have the same name. Then I go online, everything is online. All the government department functions in Singapore are online. Okay? I tell you a lot of interesting stories about where they have made life simpler and easier. When you go online and look for Zodiac Private Limited, name is not available. The system will say. Then, with my experience, I will say, put Global Zodiac Private Limited, you will get it. Or put Zodiac Trade Private Limited, you get it. I won't use the name International Impacts and all those things. It's all outdated. It's like T.M. Chandrarajan is singing. You know what I'm saying? So I don't use the word international impacts and all outdated. I use the word global or trade. So Global Zodiac name is approved. And I ask the client. Even if the client is sitting with me, I'll tell the girl go and check and come back. She come back and says Zodiac is not available. Then Global Zodiac Private Limited available. Also check Global Zodiac Trade Private Limited available. Then I ask the client which one you want. He says Global Zodiac Private Limited I want. Done. After that, if he signs the papers in my office, in 30 minutes company is incorporated. We follow the format Memorandum Articles Association, which is inbuilt into the system. Okay. We will not go into change the object class. You know why? In India, if the object is not mentioned, you cannot do that business. In Singapore, you don't have to mention the object into the Memorandum Articles Association. If you want to deal in any trade, you can trade. Unless, when you take a printout, there is a printout possible after you incorporate the company. The position of the company is also made known to you. When you take a printout, the printer will ask you two main objects for the company. There is the code also for that, statistical code. So like 86705 is for general import export. 96004 is, say just example, is for management consultancy. So you just key in the code and that will be reflected in the printout. But the Memorandum Articles Association will not have, you don't have to carry what are the business you are going to do. Even if you are going to change the trade, there is no restriction. There's a word for that. I'm not getting that word. There is a word we always use that if you don't mention, you cannot do the trade.
Ultra-wise.
Not ultra-wise. No, not ultra-wise. I'm not getting the word. Never mind, move on. So after you form the company,
So what is the cost?
wait, I'm coming to that. That's not more important. You know, if you make money, cost is nothing. I always tell people, you know, spend more money. Very important is make more money. Spending is not an issue. I'll come to that, don't worry, I'm going to tell you also on that. So after that, Global Zodiac Private Limited is incorporated. I'll ask the client how long you're going to stay here. He will say that I'm going to fly tomorrow. What is important is that if you want to open a bank account, you need, the bankers would like to see you. So I tell the bankers to come to my office to sign the papers. So I tie up with two banks. They will come to the office, but you have to fix with them. I'll tell the client, come back at 3 o'clock, the bankers are coming, they can open the bank account for you. So, witnessing the signature for operating the bank account is most important because your presence is required in Singapore. You don't have to come again to open a bank account. So, we will take the signatures on the same day. Bank will take 14 to 15 days to process because of the KYC norms which is followed globally. I come to that. What are the changes happening in the world and how it is affecting India and Singapore also. So, the company is incorporated, Memorandum Articles Association is given, bank account is also opened. Okay. What is the requirement for a company to be incorporated? When it comes to shareholders, 100% shareholding is allowed by foreigners to hold, either individuals or companies. There are no restrictions. 100% shares can be held by a foreigner. You can go and open a retail outlet. There is no restriction. Are you with me?
Yes.
Okay. Now, when it comes to directors, it can be a company also. The India company, Zodiac Private Limited, incorporated in Chennai, will be the 100% owner of the Global Zodiac Private Limited. That's also possible. Either individual can hold 100% or a company can hold 100% of the shares. Coming to the board of directors, the Companies Act requirement is that any number of foreign directors is allowed to be included, but you need one resident director who lives in Singapore. That's not a requirement in some countries where you incorporate companies. In London, I have incorporated company. You don't need a resident director. Malaysia, you need a resident director. Previously, you need 2 resident directors. Seeing Singapore, they have reduced also to 1 resident director required to set up a company. Okay. If you know people in Singapore, you can ask them to be part of it and to join with you to form the company. There are no responsibilities. The responsibilities are there. There is no definition of resident director's responsibility to the responsibilities of other directors in the Companies Act. Are you all with me? You know what I'm saying? If the resident director is in the board because he lives in Singapore, they may have 4 to 5 foreign directors into the board. So he has got all the responsibilities, but only issue is that if the compliance is not happening for the income tax department or for the register of companies, the communication is with the resident director. So as long as the company is going to comply with all the regulation, it will be smooth for you to run the company without any problem. So now you are incorporating the company. You can also open a bank account in US dollar. DPS Bank offers you multi-currency account also. Means you get it in Japanese and Dubai dirhams or something, they keep the money in their respective accounts. The share capital also can be in US dollar. So if you like to say I want to have 10,000 US dollars as my share capital, you can also have it in the US dollar. You can tell the banker also, I want Singapore dollar account and a US dollar account. Okay? Now, accounting standard says if the functional currency of the company is in US dollar, the presentation of the financial statement should be in the functional currency. So if you are going to buy and sell in US dollar, we automatically will advise you to keep the books of accounts in US dollar. Okay? This is for your information. Because a lot of fellow accountants are here, just for knowledge sake I will give you the information. Then you can ask me how the register of companies are public and differentiate between Zodiac Private Limited, which is already incorporated in Singapore, and Global Zodiac Private Limited. Important is that the register of companies insists that all the companies should carry on the registration number in the letterhead and all the correspondences. So the registration number is the differentiator between the first company and the second company. Are you all with me? Now, coming to this, okay. Now you know how to form a company, you know how to open a bank account. Before you start doing business, if you come as a resident Indian, please understand, or a company in India want to set up an operation in Singapore, there are 2 schemes. You have to follow the RBI, right? So I advise the clients also on the RBI requirement. Because you can come to Singapore and sign, I want to subscribe for 50,000 shares, I can file it, make you a shareholder. You are compliant with Singapore regulation, but you are not compliant with RBI regulation. Are you all with me? So, when it comes to ODI and LRS scheme, I tell you the difference. Overseas direct investment, if you have a company in India, it's the same, Zodiac Private Limited, established in Chennai, would like to subscribe 100,000 shares to Singapore. You go to an authorized bank, whichever bank, HDFC or ICICI Bank or any bank, Yes Bank or Kodak Mahindra, go to them and tell that I would like to remit $100,000 to subscribe to the share capital. You don't have to deal with RBI. Every bank has got an authorized representative. That authorized representative will take all the information from you, he will fill up the form, he will apply to RBI internally, that is his job, and then remit the money of $100,000 to Singapore to subscribe for share. RBI in turn will allot a UEN number back to the bank, and a file is created for you, for your company, for the investment made in Singapore with RBI. What's your duty? Annually you have to file a return. After you have completed the first financial year in Singapore, get the audited accounts or get the compiled accounts and then submit back to your authorized bank, who in turn will submit to RBI. Okay. This is for a company having only one subsidiary in Singapore. Out of the 8,000, more than 7 to 7,500 companies are only owned subsidiaries. You name a listed company in India, they have an office there which is 100% only owned subsidiaries. Okay. Coming to the individual, if you, your father or your wife and son want to subscribe to the shares, under the liberalized remittance scheme, you go back to the same authorized agent. You have to fill up a different set of forms. When you fill up the form, under the LR scheme, RBI allows you to remit $250,000 per year per SSC after payment of taxes in India. So once you go and tell your authorized representative, the bank, he will again fill up the form and send to them and say that Mr. A and Mrs. A are going to invest $100,000 in their names in Singapore. Again RBI gives the UN number and then the same process happens. When it comes to individual, when 4 families or 5 families, 5 person in a family come to me to set up a company, I advise them to have 1 person to hold all the shares. So only 1 file is open with the RBI rather than 5 files are open with the RBI. Are you all with me? Yes. So this is where I have exactly explained of ODI and LR scheme. Okay. Yesterday I met, someone asked me to meet a person in Chennai. Before I was leaving the office, I told my secretary, print out the company. The good thing and advantage in Singapore is that Global Zodiac Private Limited, you go to the ROC online, pay $5, it can be print out and give you the status of the company. It will give you the name of the company, register office, what are the object of the company, paid up capital, or there is no authorized capital in Singapore. Authorized capital is removed. You pay a $300 fee. You can start a company with $100 million. But usually we don't allow anybody to subscribe. Minimum is $1 to incorporate the company. So we always make them to incorporate $1 and then bring in money of 100 million and take it. There is no authorized capital, there is no fee payment except the first time you pay at the time of incorporation. So, after the company is incorporated, I have told you already the ODI scheme under the LR scheme. So, before I was leaving to meet the guy who is not my client, he and his wife are holding shares, 50,000, 50,000. I don't want to name the person, okay? Confidentiality. I know pretty well they would have not known the LR scheme. When I asked him, have you invested through the LR scheme? Because I saw he and his wife's name. He said, what do you mean by LR scheme? So, there is a way of correcting it. I will tell you how to way of correcting it, which is all recorded. It's not in the wrong way. I'm going to advise you to correct it. It's a way of, I mean, if you are going to go to RBI and tell them I wrongly subscribed for 100,000 charge by mistake, it's not easy to solve the problem. One client has subscribed 1 share, or not, I mean, he doesn't know. I was in London, because whenever you go overseas, you don't tell all the clients I'm not in the office, right? He called me at 2 o'clock midnight, because thinking that I'm in Singapore. Even John Morris called me in the morning. He was saying 5 and 7:30. I was here in hotel in Chennai, not in Singapore. I took a call at 5:30 in the morning. I was surprised, you know. I thought my office is started calling because it's 7:30 there. Even then, they would come to office only at 9 o'clock. But I spoke to him. Okay, I come back to the London situation. He called me and said, Mohan, Ernst & Young are auditors. RBI has written to us that $1, you have not taken the approval. 3 years, you have not filed the annual return. You know why? If RBI happened to know that you are holding 1 share in a Singapore company, automatically they have the right to ask you, how did you invest $1? Why you have not filed the annual return for 3 years? Give the reason and file the return. Right? That's what exactly RBI will do. So, he asked me, Mohan, Ernst & Young is saying, your accountant has done a mistake to file it. You know what I told him? I have a certificate of practice, I got a license. You say accountant has done the mistake. So that he doesn't have any license to practice, right? No, what I mean is, RBI is serious. If you are not taken permission, as a resident Indian, not only you make an investment in Singapore, even you make an investment anywhere in the world, you have to follow the RBI regulations, right? Unless India is going to remove the capital restrictions, which you all know about it. Now they allow on the revenue side, they have not still opened up the capital side. So unless they open up the capital side, where money is, one thing always surprised me is, capital side is not opened up, as you all know about it. You go, all the major airports in the world, Indian currency is traded. Even by big banks, any name, you name the bank, all of them buy and sell Indian rupees. Have you got RBI approval? So, now I touched on those things on ODI and LRS. I am going to find out which are the very few other points which I have not covered it up to see that. Okay, I'll come on to poem.
Sir?
No, I will, but listen, I'll come to the question and answer after I finish it. All of you can ask questions, I will answer you. Not to worry. Now I'm going to talk about poem. Usually I speak on poem alone for 1 hour because you go to the Ministry of Finance website, there are 3-4 circulars have come on poem. What is poem? Place of effective management, right? So, if suppose 5 directors are from India and you have got a resident director in Singapore, you have made a profit of $200,000 in Global Zodiac Private Limited, and the 5 directors sitting in India has managed the entire operations of running the business and made the profit of $200,000. Indian income tax section 6 was amended, whereby the tax department has got authority to tax the $200,000 since the management control of making the $200,000 has happened in Chennai. What do you say for that? What do you say for that? Because management control, all the directors are sitting in India. Okay, there are ways and means to do it. I will tell you what is it. It's nothing wrong. I am not going to tell you something wrong. What you have to do is, I have read the 3 circulars, what that I was telling you that there's a lot of presentation also there for poem, and I have spoken about poem in a lot of occasion. I'll tell you exactly because that's, I want to make it short, go to the next topic. In poem, what they expect you is that the books of accounts to be maintained in Singapore, strategic meetings should take place in Singapore, board of directors. So whenever these directors fly to Singapore, these 5 directors, I insist on them, whatever the decision you have made in India, why can't you make it as, sit with the resident director, start passing the resolution to see that all the strategic meetings that have taken place in Singapore, all the decisions are made. And once you passing this, having the books of accounts, and if you have an office, and also some of the CEO, CFO and few of the people are also appointed, it's all added advantage. I'm not saying that you should have it. With this, you go to the Singapore authorities and say, give me a tax resident certificate. Automatically the Singapore authorities government will ask you, would you confirm that the management control is in Singapore? Send out of the 4, 1 or 2 resolution to them. They are satisfied and issue a tax resident certificate. So with the tax resident certificate, with the strategic resolution passed, it is easy for you to say, overcome poem, whereby the $200,000 profit made in Singapore will be avoided. Consistency is very important. What I mean is, when the poem is going to be applied, what they say that they want to look into consistency of poem need not be this year, they want to treat you as income has to be added, then you are in trouble because subsequent years difficult for you to prove my management is in Singapore. Are you with me? So from the beginning, start having the management in Singapore. By following what all I am going to tell you, it's easy for you to run without any problem. All the clients nowadays come and start asking me, what are the regulations? How do you overcome poem? I have written articles, you can go to my website and see it. If you don't have, I can send you all those papers about poem. Also, you can go to the Ministry of Finance website. There are 3 or 4 circulars have come on the poem issue. Next one is transfer pricing. Okay. Is there any transfer pricing officer there in Singapore? No. Is there any transfer pricing act in Singapore? No. Then what is the transfer pricing issue? the transfer pricing, the threshold is defined. If you are going to do business of $15 million and above, then you have to keep the transfer pricing documentation. If you do less than $15 million, the documentation is not required. And if it is a service sector, like rental income, royalties, management fees, if it crosses $1 million, then you have to keep the documentation. Otherwise, it is not required for you. Okay? Then, the next topic is about, I covered on transfer pricing, I covered on poem. Okay. Now, you all know about OECD countries, OECD, Organization of Economic Cooperation and Development. It's a body which helps 30 to 35 countries which are members of that OECD. They make out all the policies, ask the countries to follow. Now, what is the biggest topic they are involved is, can anyone tell you, it's a digital economy. Because how to tax a digital economy is an issue, because they want to have a uniformity of taxation in most of the countries. Some of the countries in Europe, Aircon is not working. No, okay. Fine. Actually, I want to remove my jacket, but it's pinned here. I want to remove wrong bag because I am pinning here, or I have to pin it on my shirt. Sorry, I am now in OECD. OECD has got Financial Action Task Force. The Financial Action Task Force is also involved in BEPS, base erosion and profit shifting. You know, when Apple, Google, Facebook, all of them started putting their companies in Ireland, not paying taxes back in US, sorry. So, not only I talk about US companies, most of the companies going into the tax haven, setting up companies, not paying taxes legitimately, and countries not getting taxes legitimately. OECD started working, Financial Action Task Force. What they have started doing is, they come out with policies to say that if you are not going to follow our regulations, we will blacklist you, grey list, and then white list, which is clean, without any problem. So all countries wanted to come into the better list, so that not only they comply with the OECD's regulation, they are in line with all the countries in the world. The 2 or 3 things they come out with. One is base erosion and profit shifting, which you all know about it. I will talk about tax havens and then what is the regulation going on in the tax havens, the next one, which is also concerned with Singapore. Because Singapore is not a tax haven. Please don't mistake Singapore as a tax haven. It is a user-friendly, ease of doing business, rule of law, brand name of Singapore, and fantastic infrastructure, best airport, best seaport, make people to do business at ease globally, and tax-friendly situation with low taxes. Now coming back to this, one is OECD talking about is base erosion and profit shifting. Second one is they are talking about exchange of information. What happened is now, the Financial Action Task Force started telling all the countries you have to exchange information. It is not only concerned with Singapore, it is concerned with all the countries in the world. They started asking all the banks to gather information about where these people are having their bank accounts. Where they have been assessed to tax, and to provide the tax assessment number. They call TIN number, tax information. Even if you want to open a bank account anywhere in the world, they would like to know what's your TIN number. The old system, they might not have filled up the form and asked you. In the new system, they give you a new form. Would you give me which are the countries you have been assessed to tax? What is the purpose of taking that information is to exchange the information. If they have a bank balance of 500,000 or 600,000, they want to inform the country that this guy is holding this much of money. One guy came to me from Malaysia. He's a permanent resident of Singapore. He said, Mohan, I got this letter, bank is asking me to fill up. I said, why are you worried? You are a permanent resident in Singapore, your assessment is in Singapore. Tell them you are an assessee in Singapore. Did I give the Malaysian one? I said, why you have to give Malaysian one? You have been assessed to tax in Singapore, give the Singapore one. What's the advantage? Can anyone tell me? I told you, whatever here and abroad, not brought, even if you brought to Singapore, is not subject to tax. Are you all with me? Yes. Okay. Nowadays, even private banks ask you to fill up. You might have parked 15 million with them. You may be client with them for 15 years. Today they will come and tell you, can you fill up a form to say, they will ask you two questions. One, for all the income you are keeping with us, you are paying taxes in your country, they always say yes. No bank is going to object to that. They are not going to look into, to ask for the assessment orders. The second one is, what's your TIN number? So that if you have to exchange information, you can automatically exchange information. What Singapore did is, because OECD country was putting Singapore in the grey list area, Singapore doesn't want to go to amend the double taxation agreement, which is a cumbersome, long-drawn process. Parliament has to approve all those things. They quickly get into a simple agreement of exchange of information, especially on tax-related matters, signed with 66 countries quickly. They can do it one night. That's the efficiency. Resulting in that it's moved out of the grey list and it's in a very good list. Singapore is keen to follow what all the OECD countries' recommendations are, the financial and tax pose. One more information about OECD is also, they have come up with country by country reporting. If it exceeds European $750 million, you have to report country by country reporting. It's usually for multinational corporations where they have offices throughout the world. If your operation here you do millions of dollars of business only in one location, you will not come into the country by country reporting situation. Why you have to do country by country reporting? Because if, say Apple is doing business in 15 or maybe 180 countries. Each country they have to give the information, what's the sales done, what is the number of staff employed, what is the expenses incurred, what is the profit shown, what's the tax paid. If you have a tabulation of 180 countries before you, what you can find out? You have done $5 million of business in my country, you have not paid any taxes, which Australia has done for Starbucks and collected huge taxes from that country, from Starbucks. What I mean to say is that it's going to be an information for governments to see that how much they have operated in that country, what are the taxes paid. It's also one of the OECD's base solution and profit shifting effort to see that that information is disclosed to all the other countries. For 3 years, it is difficult for you to get facility, any facility from the banks in Singapore. Why? You know pretty well, always they say in entrepreneurship, I'm also used to speak on entrepreneurship, that's my pet topic. They always say, if 10,000 people start company today, in 5 years time it becomes 2,000, in 10 years time it becomes 30 companies. Means consistently doing business, carry on business and live is not easy. All of you know about it, all of you see most of the clients. So, 3 years will make them feel that you settle down. 2, if you have 5 foreign directors sitting in Chennai and only 1 resident director, how they are going to give you the finance? 3rd, usually when the bank gives you even $100,000, they will ask you, can you give personal guarantee? Because you all know that in a private limited company, your liability is restricted to the share capital. So if you are not going to in a position to pay and lose the $100,000 capital, how they are going to recover the money? So you cannot ask your resident director to give a personal guarantee. Which resident director will be happy to give a personal guarantee? Okay, even though if it's your brother sitting in Singapore, he is happy to give you a personal guarantee. What banker will ask for? What is his earning? Is he capable to give a guarantee for $100,000? Right? Okay. How the funding is happening for new companies? If the company is from India, they pick up a guarantee in India, Chennai, give the guarantee to the bankers in Singapore and take facility on that. Second, if they are enjoying say $10 million facility in Chennai, with the same bank, they tell them, why can't you combine the $10 million facility for Singapore, India, Chennai and Singapore. I mean, give me a combined facility so that I can also enjoy facility in Singapore, enjoy facility in Chennai. They can ask the bank in India to give a standby letter of credit. Using the standby letter of credit, it's also not easy. First I will tell you why it is not easy. Take a standby letter of credit, give it to the bank in Singapore, ask the bank to give you another LC. Some banks, you know what they say, do you all think that it's very safe? What's the problem in giving another LC by taking a standby letter of credit? Bank looks at it as two transactions. One is standby letter of credit has come. He is opening another LC. If there is any problem here, it's not going to be easy for him to recover. So the margin money they will ask you will be higher. The fourth one is, if your property is in India, pledge it. Say Bank of India, ask them to pledge it. Give a letter of comfort. Take the letter of comfort back to Singapore. Ask them to extend facilities to you. Or use your funds to carry on business for 2-3 years. Establish yourself. A lot of people are doing. And then take off from there. If you have done 3 years of business and accumulated a profit of $1 or $2 million, easy for you to go to the bank and say, you have a track record of doing business. I always tell you, every client, whatever facility to start with, when a bank is going to offer, accept it. Reason is, it's a relationship you have to build up with the bank. Bank will not give you overnight, trust you and give you $1 million. So you have to maintain a relationship with the bank. Whatever facility they give you, accept it. Show them the relationship and build up your relation. A very interesting thing, I gave you 2 articles, right? They only talk about startup. But both the articles hasn't talked one thing. When I read it, immediately I said, very important point has not been covered in both the articles. Why Flipkart moved to Singapore and set up the operation? Not only Flipkart, lot of startup companies are moving to Singapore and setting up the operation. Flipkart was having an office here. If someone said, I want to give you $500 million venture capital fund, one condition, you put up the office in Singapore, I give the 500 million in Singapore, make the Singapore as headquarters, make Chennai office as subsidiary, you all shift as board directors into the holding company, make Singapore as holding company, India company as a subsidiary company. You all understood what I am saying? Okay. By doing so, he will invest $500 million into the Singapore company. When he is going to sell the $5 million, there is no capital gains tax in Singapore. That's the reason why most of the no angel tax what you are talking about. That's the reason why most of the companies would like to have, the startup would like to have a company in Singapore, want to make it at headquarters. It is easy for them to attract money from venture capitalists. So when they are going to sell and get out of the company, there is no capital gains tax in Singapore. People used to ask me, how do you differentiate between capital gains tax and revenue, normal income tax? If an electronic trader is going to buy and sell one property, but his main business is electronics, if he sells the property, it's a capital gain. But if a guy is buying and selling properties, that is his regular business, so that's not a capital gain, it's a revenue gain. Are you all with me? So, people always ask me, when there is no capital gains tax, how they tax it? They tax it as a revenue, because that's your normal business. See, some people what they do, even some electronic traders, the property market is very hot. Why can't I buy a lot of residential properties and sell? It's always keep on growing in Singapore. If you do it, you know, the tax department will start watching. What's the intention of buying the property? You want to roll over and make money. When you do it one, they allow as capital gains tax. When you do 3, 4, 5, you say it's your second object is to buy and sell properties. I want to tax you as a revenue income. Simple, right? First object is electronic business. Second object is buying and selling properties. Right? You all with me?
Yeah, yes, sir.
Yes. 5 minutes. Done. When Modi has come to a second term, I was in the Gujarat Summit, biennial conference. I was the chairman of the Singaporean Chamber of Commerce. I've led delegations everywhere. I also led delegation when Modi ji was the Chief Minister of Gujarat. What happened is, at this time I was there, the policy makers, advisors to Modi ji was also there. The delegation were asking questions. I decided to ask last. I asked them one question. Make in India is acceptable. You want people to attract, come for manufacturing. Your corporate tax is 30%. I'm not talking about just another things. Then your dividend declaration tax is 15%. And if the dividend exceeds 10 lakhs, it is 10%. So any foreign company come and establish an operation in Singapore, he lands up paying 50% tax. Who's interested? When China opened up the economic zones, they were insisting on the capital you are bringing in. It's tax holiday. There is no taxes. If you look at globally, the Singapore corporate tax is 17%, Hong Kong is 15%, Estonia and few countries in Eastern Europe is 12.5%, Ireland is 12.5%. I heard one client came from US, Indian. He wanted to know about Singapore, I explained everything. Then he said, Mohan, our President Trump has also reduced taxes in US, it's 15% for this kind of activities. I better have the company in US, not in Singapore. I was surprised. What I like and want is Modi ji should reduce the taxes, cut all the extra taxes. You see, if you like to differentiate between foreign companies who are going to come, going to have, give a lot of employment, going to spin off benefits for the economy, remove the taxes, remove all the burden. If you want to do it for dividend declaration tax, dividend tax for others, classify between those give opportunities, economic boost, employment opportunities, treat them differently. Anyway, I'm going to keep on telling that. Okay? You can clap that. Last one before I conclude. This is about virtual banking. What is virtual banking? Today, who is going to the bank and draw money or do that? Everybody has got mobile app, do most of your transactions. All bigger companies in the world, you take Apple, Alibaba, or any Facebook, all these companies have got a $2 to $3 billion, 2 to 3 billion customers in hand. What you would like to do is, they want to use them for all, not only revenue should come only from the advertisement. They would like to add services into that. In some other companies, if they are giving only one service through an app, they try to add more services and want to become a super app. The intention is that they have the customer base. By using the customer base, they would like to increase the volume of business, increase the revenue. So all of them started having e-wallet. Means part of the banking is done by them. What is e-wallet? They are going to skip the bank and do things. Before I was leaving, nowadays I don't get companies. Nowadays I don't come. People come with companies to say, I want to do trading in timber. No. Before I was leaving, a guy resigned from Tata's. He's one of the highest software guy. I want to have 3 objectives. I asked him what the 3 objectives are. One, I want to do remittance business without SHIFT. You all know about SHIFT code to transfer money, which is a banking channel. So you want to do transfer from his secured internet to the other secured party, skipping the bank. The second one, I want to do e-wallet. The third one, I want to do virtual banking. See, as I was telling you, even though the capital restrictions there in India, Indian rupee is traded in most of the best airports because that is an economic need. The same thing is going to happen if you are not going to allow virtual banking. Hong Kong has already issued 8 virtual banking licenses. They may restrict the way of doing banking. What I mean is, they will not allow you to accept deposit, or they usually when you look at any of the licenses issued by Monetary Authority of Singapore for any capital market licenses, when you are going to advise somebody on financial services, you go to Monetary Authority to ask for permission. they always say capital market service license is issued with the following condition. They will put 15 conditions to fulfill. So the virtual banking is going to come in such a way with a lot of condition. You will not be going to walk into the bank. You will be using your app to carry out all your things. And Apple has come with Apple Card. Visa, MasterCard, American Express are all going to lose the business. So each one has already started to have their own payment system. Apple Pay, Alibaba Pay, Amazon Pay, all of them have come. Virtual banking is also going to come. Hong Kong already issued 8 licenses. So what's happening is that the trend of the company which are coming to us to incorporate is all either in fintech, edutech, health tech or edutech. It is not the traditional companies which are coming. And most of these activities are going to be in the internet, which is going to be the order of the day. With that, I conclude my speech. Thank you.